Oh guys, Butcher Boy Tommy here. Okay, another tutorial on the new stuff. As you would have seen a while back, I showed you how to make a ladder. Well, I showed you that ladders were possible. So as I've already said, Arcus is more of a visionary than a dictator. So what he's done is he's put a number of animations into the game, and it's up to you guys to decide how to use the animations. Now you want ladders, then you can use the animations that he's provided to make ladders. It's a little bit untidy, I'll give you that, but it gets the job done, at least until Arcus gets, you know, proper ladders in there, because I do believe he's planning on putting them in at a very later stage. So at the minute, if you want ladders, you can use the following animations to get what you need. But just to show you it works, let's have a quick look at it working. I need to turn the old jetpack off. Okay, so I use pressure pads for this, right? So pressure pad, get on there, give it a second or two, press the X button, and you ride the doodad to the top. Okay, press A, that releases from the doodad. Now it's not just a case of riding doodads this, you've got to get everything in its place correctly. Now as I said, I didn't put a tutorial out first because I knew there was going to be changes, and one of the changes is we can now do a downward doodad. Okay, as I say, it is an effect, it's an animation, it is a little untidy, but it gets the job done. Alright, so let's have a look and see how we make these. Oh, before I disappear, I will show you pressure pads. He's changed the pressure pads, so now if I can get over here, watch. Okay, so pressure pads, you now activate each other. Okay, and you can also activate it. You can put a laser in front of the pressure pad, that'll activate the whole chain. But that's a new thing which makes directional applications possible. So let's get to the workshop. Now once again, this is a work in progress, so you will be needing chat pad or keyboard, and the following blocks will be required. One block called slow fall, I'll show you that in a minute. One block used for your ladder, one pressure pad, and one conveyor. So we'll start with the stuff that you should already have. Conveyor. So basically you just build a conveyor, put some blocks in your workshop, call it conveyor or conveyor fast. Set name, and this one's conveyor fast. I've used fast because of the time it takes for the doodad to get to the ladder. Okay, the way I've set it up. I have set it up a little bit skew with, but you'll see why in a moment. So that's your conveyor. Pressure pad, you should already have one of these. Now remember, front of the workshop, the beam will fire towards me. It comes from there, right? So if you're going to build a fancy block, remember the beam will come out of here, right? So that's in there, and that one's called pressure pad. See the name? So on the keybar, in the keypad, set name space pressure pad. Okay, next one. Now I've doubled this up because it's a downward as well. So this is my ladder block, but it's also, ooh, remember this guys? Pop a block in, gets rid of it. Right, my ladder block, as you can see, the name is called factory, right? I've created a factory with a ladder block. You'll see why in a moment. But that's my ladder. As you can see, I've got 3 blocks all the way up. It's one in, one in, 3 blocks, and I've got me struts. 1 down, 1 strut, 3 down, 1 strut. So that's nice and even when you place them on top of each other. And I've called that factory. Okay. Next one. This is the new one. Okay. This one. Now, forget about the placing at the minute. When you're building this yourselves, you will have to muck about and get the placing right to try your best at hiding the doodads. Alright? So, the way I've placed this is to try and hide it when it's travelling up the ladder. Okay, but I've just placed 2 small blocks that'll fit on top of the ladder, and I've called them slow fall. So remember, this is a new name, so you will need the chat pad. Set name slow fall. Right, so that's your stuff sorted, and then you've got to build it. Basically, you just build it up. So straightforward, building the ladder, right? So I built the ladder right away to the top. Now remember the doodad. Okay, now remember the ladder's called factory, and if you want the doodad to come off the factory, it has to be placed on the top. So remember how I positioned the doodad in the workshop? That was so it merges with the ladder and it doesn't look so untidy. So when the doodad's on top, it just looks like part of the ladder. Okay? Now then, the downward part is obviously a chain of pressure pads. Okay? I can't just have one pressure pad there firing directly into the factory. But that leaves, see the green laser? Unfortunately, I can't get rid of that. But when you stand on it, you would have a green laser shooting straight across, and it would be a little bit more visible, let's say. So what I've done, I've made a chain. So that fires onto that one, fires onto that one, fires onto that one, hits the factory when I stand on it. So just a demonstration. So you can see the doodads are now falling out of the factory and they're dropping down. Now because I've called it slow fall, notice they're not dropping out the factory and hitting the deck like a bag of shite. They're gliding down. Okay. So all you do is press X and you'll attach yourself to one of them and you'll glide down the ladder. And then you press A when you're at the bottom and that releases you. It's a bit messy because on the release you get a little bit of static, but it does the job. So you imagine you're in RPG mode, you need to get down a dirty big ditch, you've got a ladder set up. Yes, it looks messy, but at least you're not losing health. Okay? Think of it that way, guys. Right, so that's the downward part. Now the upward part, I'll put the jetpack on. Little bit more complicated. So I stand on that pressure pad. Now what I'll do is I'll show you the lasers. Remember I said a beam emitter will set the lasers off. So that's a pressure pad. Hits that pressure pad and then that hits the factory. See the doodad on top of the factory, and that releases. That hits your conveyor. That obviously travels up the wall. Obviously if I'd built the factory here, there'd be a lot less time difference between the doodad hitting the ladder and I wouldn't have to wait so long. But because this is a demonstration, I've put a bit of room in there so I can actually move around and show you guys the laser setup. Alright, so that's your setup. Rid of that. And then you just cover everything up, try and hide the mechanism best as you can. And there you go. So, is a little bit untidy, but gets the job done. And as you can see, stand on the pressure pad, hit X, ride the doodad to the top, hit A when you're at the top. Okay, so that's a setup for an up and down ladder, right? Now notice you've got the doodad balancing on top of there. That disappears after a few seconds. So there is a few untidy bits in there, but I'm sure you guys can work around that. Slow fall would be much better used on something like an elevator, right? So I haven't built one, but I have built something to show you how slow fall's working, right? So basically what I've done here, so I've got a laser hitting a factory, the doodad on top, and then that sends it along the conveyor. It hits a trampoline, right? Now slow fall hitting a trampoline will travel almost indefinitely, right? And I'll show you what I mean. So I'll ride one of them up, just pressed X, I've attached my cell. Now if I take this off, and what I'll do, just so I don't lose it completely, now that's the top of the world. You can see it's still trying to travel, and that's bounced off a trampoline, because slow fall has basically been given very, very little gravity, and it does travel quite a way, right? So think elevators here, guys. So that'll just keep on going. Now you can do pressure pads instead, so I could have had a pressure pad setting the whole thing off instead of having it constantly running, right? Because what you see there is they're starting to come back down and bounce off the old trampoline. So what I've done is I've actually, there we go, I'll put a conveyor at the top so it hits the conveyor now, travels along that, and then it drops off the side. So if you think, if you've got a large building, right, you could build the doodad in the shape of a platform. If you look back on one of my older videos where I first did the ladders, I did an elevator going up, right, in that platform. So build a doodad the shape of a platform, call it slow fall, and that'll travel up. It'll hit the conveyor, go along, and then it'll glide back down, right? So say one of the floors of your house is here, so you would travel up, just wait for the next doodad, hit X, and you'd join it, and that takes you down nice and slowly to the bottom. Press A, and that dismantles you. Okay, so that's a possible effect. So remember, guys, these are animations, up to you what you do with them. You're asking for stuff, Arcos isn't putting them in. No, because what he's done is he's put a bunch of animations in, and you can build all this stuff yourself. So if you want a ladder, create your own. You want an elevator, create your own. The tools are there, you've just got to figure out how to use them. Now I'm sure you guys can sort of look at that and say, right, I know what I'm going to do with that, and create something rather spectacular. So we'll leave it at that for now. If there's anything new, I shall pop a tutorial on, but I think I've covered just about everything. If I haven't, I'll bang one up for you. Okay, thanks for watching, keep smiling, ta-da.